Yo, what's up, everyone? Hope y'all can hear me. We are chilling. I'm actually working on something, by the way, for questions to be answered. Hit the Cashapp. What up? So, pinned my Cashapp tag. We're all hanging out here. I'm gonna be doing, hold on, let me see if I can get a link to my stream. I'll do that in a minute. But anyways, I'm working on a thing for a collab with Chuck. So, I will be working on that while we are hanging out. As well as I will answer a battle that was purchased, and I assume it was for a stream, and that was Medaka versus Juggernaut. So we'll kind of go over that battle as well, and then hang out. Now, Medaka is a character that's obviously pretty controversial, and the reason for that, simply put, is Medaka box is like a massive, hold on, someone's messaging me something pretty crazy. Okay, crazy. It's for upcoming channel thing. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to pull up Medaka box scaling right now, actually. Give me 1 second. We'll get right into it. Alright. So, first of all, let me link this in my chat, and then we'll get into it. I know Juggernaut off the top of my head. I don't know Medaka off the top of my head, so we're going to consult the archives. It's real out here, son. By the way, make sure to check out all the ways you can donate and support in the video description of this stream, as well as join up on the Discord. We're at over 700 members. It's lit. What's up, everyone? Skittle, Plank, Godspeed, Paris, Constantine, Random. What up to everyone? Paris. It's lit. Alright, now let's look into Madoka, alright? Let's get this out the way. Let's look at some of the higher end scaling, because let's be honest, that's why people order Medaka to be battled, right? What up, Map? Now, her best feats, some of the best stuff she has includes literally scaling above concepts themselves, like dualities like light and dark, as well as straight up being able to nullify authors and scaling above authors slash her creators. Now, Medaka at the same time has like this, in my opinion, this is what made Medaka like a very big fixture in the power scaling community, is that ridiculous fucking page of Medaka having like all powers. It's a disgusting list of powers displayed by Medaka right there. Like, to the point where if someone tells you, like, let's be honest, if someone tells you Medaka has this power, and then you look at that image, you're gonna be like, dude, I don't even want to have to read through all of it to, like, pick. Like, that's too that's too many words, too small a print, too many powers. So you have some outer scaling as well as a ridiculous amount of hacks, as well as being able to narrative manip people, fate manip people that, like, goes beyond even the story. There's also times when Medaka's, like, pushed high-level opponents above their limit, resulting in her fights being beyond, quote, imagination. It's a whole lot of things that give her versatility and AP. Now, interesting enough is, like, would that work on Juggernaut? We got to look at several forms of Juggernaut. There's, like, base Juggernaut, who, when he initially came around, he was obviously able to walk through the X-Men. Think about this. Charles Xavier didn't have, like, the psionic energy to blast back or battle against Juggernaut at that time. Juggernaut was walking through the power of someone who could battle the Dark Phoenix across infinite planes of existence, right? That's pretty damn impressive. Not only this, the Stranger, who's a cosmic being, blasted Juggernaut. He was completely fine. The God Blast did absolutely nothing to Juggernaut. This is a God Blast that, according to the author of one of the runs, a character put down by Thor's God Blast scaled to, like, eternity or multi-eternity. So you definitely have outer scaling for Juggernaut's resistances, especially in terms of, like, how powerful his shields get and his power through Sidorak. Now, if we consider higher forms, there's also forms of Juggernaut where he took a significant power of Sidorak and even battled this entity himself. This is the same Sidorak that casually was throwing about Galactus, his ship, and classic Doctor Strange. There's absolutely nothing they could do. So definitely outer scaling for AP and hacks resistances for Juggernaut. Now the question is, can his resistances stand up to the likes of Medaka? I'm going to say no, and here's why. I don't think she would directly even have to overpower him. She could simply, for example, I kind of want to preface this, like Green Scar simply redirected Juggernaut and just threw him out of the picture, right? She could literally draw him out of the picture. She could draw that, she could create or imagine that massive piece of land he's running on towards her. She could imagine that suddenly floating in the air, now Juggernaut's in the air, and then being tossed into oblivion. Juggernaut has no answer for that. I don't see this really being a question of a head-on collision / AP battle. This is, okay, Medaka's hacks and abilities through hacks can be argued to a certain degree based on what she's accomplished. You compare that to what has defeated Juggernaut before and what is most likely to occur because of all those hacks is, it gets pretty easy to argue Medaka wouldn't outright destroy Juggernaut, but would just get rid of him. Like, just, whether through extreme BFR, banishment sealing. Juggernaut literally once lost to the ground beneath him, exploding. He got thrown into the air and blasted through the air by Scar and got BFR'd into orbit. He got tossed into BFR by Green Scar. Juggernaut literally, I think at one point, Bullseye fucking uppercutted him and knocked him out the picture for a bit because he fell down a drain. Like, Juggernaut's been BFR'd several times and sealed several times. I think the argument that, and we could talk about that, Bobby, in the chat. By the way, you guys, I'm interacting with y'all in the chat, and then I'm about to begin what I'm working on for the collab. But I don't think Juggernaut would get straight up overpowered by Medaka. I think narrative resistances, Juggernaut hasn't really shown anything for that. Fate manip, I mean, shit. Fucking where he's standing manip constantly occurs. Juggernaut is gonna be in a rough spot when, obviously, also Onslaught absolutely slaughtered Juggernaut. You can't even argue that. Onslaught walked through him. So Medaka is just gonna hack the way to the W. Now, if you guys want further questions on different matchups, maybe you want a what if or a question done, you can hit the Cash App, or you can hit the donations, as well as I'll be talking about stuff like relevant to what I got going on and like what I'm trying to talk about right now. I got a few videos already recording that are going to be fire. You have a... So, Bobby, if he messes with the power source or takes down Onslaught through that way, when he literally rocked Juggernaut, that literally is a win condition. That's just severing his power, what he's connected to. That can be done on multiple fronts. Next Chuck collab, I'm working on stuff for a Doctor Doom thing. If I'm not in it, I'll have a heavy influence on his Doctor Doom video, which is coming out soon. I got all of Doom's feats and everything combined. Who can beat Medaka? Anyone with, like, solid... How is she going to know to do that? That's one of her powers, Bobby. I don't think you read through Medaka's powers. Go read her power list. You could just read the one scan. It has stuff. He can't scale above, like, a rock flying into space. Why wouldn't she just make a rock fly into space? That's all she needs. Everybody beats up Nightmare. Nightmare sucks. Classic Doctor Strange beat him with martial arts, hypnotism, and a flash spell. Nightmare sucks. Don't use Nightmare for your scaling. If that's the crux, we're in trouble. That's as real as it gets when it comes to Nightmare. The only thing that's funny about Nightmare is, like, Nightmare's either getting his ass beat or he has some wild high-end shit. Horrible in-betweens. Yeah, Nightmare in his own realm got soloed by human hypnotism. Medaka has hypnotism. She solos him. So it's not even a problem. I definitely think it's hard or harder to argue Medaka scales above Sidorak himself, though. And I don't think it'd be like a destructive thing. I think she would just either rewrite his narrative, which you can't show any instances of Juggernaut resisting having his narrative rewritten, and she would just rewrite who got the power, or who got his power. She wouldn't be able to interact with Juggernaut? But Spider-Man can? What is this, God? Never mind, I'm going to ignore your comments. It's hard for a thug sometimes. Can't even have conversations with fans. Nightmare's gotten sauced on by Spider-Man. And you don't think she can fathom Nightmare? Are you serious? She scales above her own author in the cosmology there, as well as all the dimensions and the archetypes and concepts. That's low to mid-outer at worst. And you don't think she can mess with Nightmare, who lost to hypnotism? Relax. Nightmare sucks. The crazy thing about Doom is Doom's found a way around narratives before. I think that's hilarious. Now to begin this Doctor Doom glorious piece of work. Alright. Yo, it would be kind of base though. So, Miracle Man versus Dr. Manhattan. This is an interesting question. So, I'm going to preface this with two things. For Miracle Man versus Dr. Manhattan, we will have to kind of evaluate this from the perspective of a couple fronts. One, their original works. Two, their different forms. So, the second round will be what we know plus what I think will happen based on my prior video, or my video that's going to be coming out on Miracle Man. But Miracle Man is a character who, if you straight up just want to go high-end shit, this was a character that could go to the comic book realm of ideas, narratives, concepts, all that, and casually hang out there and fuck around, and scale beyond that. One of the powers is like, what's up, Grapes? There's a ability for Miracle Man to literally zoom through time, and when he does this, he every like second, every moment he passes back, he absorbs the power of his prior self. So imagine him walking around and he can just instantly go back and summon the power and absorb the power of all the forms of him from the last 5 seconds. That's crazy. So you have Miracle Man doing stuff like that on his high end. And then you have Dr. Manhattan, who in the original series got absolutely like no crazy good scaling, had some reality warping and transmutation, can survive in space, can survive getting completely destroyed. Nothing too crazy though. There's like a anti-statement where like he can only stop like 60% of the nukes. Nothing too crazy for the original Dr. Manhattan, so I think he gets absolutely washed. And then you have his form where he goes on to DC, right? He apparently accesses crisis energy when interacting with DC. And that's when we see Dr. Manhattan get a massive power amp. One shots White Lanterns. I know they job, but they still scale really high. And does a whole lot of other crazy things. Basically messes up the multiverse, just messing around. And had to be stopped by Plot Armor Superman. So, like, if those two match up currently, it's probably easier to argue that Dr. Manhattan wins as it currently stands. However, if they go where I think they will go with Miracle Man, I think they could potentially tie in some of the power demonstrated in his early series to like the comic book realm of ideas, and you'll see this. You'll like see me elaborate on it in my Miracle Man video, but he could tap potentially into the House of Ideas if they narratively make it congruent. So that's something crazy to think about, and if he gets to that level, definitely think he could box with Dr. Manhattan, if not outright beat him, even with the crisis energy. So yeah, that's my take on Miracle Man versus Dr. Manhattan. And again, I have a Miracle Man video that's probably going to drop today or tomorrow, and I have 3 videos that are already recorded. That one, Count Dooku vs. Maul, and I did the Spider-Man of the best rogue gallery in fiction with my boy Havoc. So I got some bangers that are already recorded. Zana vs. Ventress is interesting. I just have to finish up my Zana part, and I'll probably get that out. Another Star Wars battle I'm doing soon is God, who is it? It's Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn from the first movie when they fought Maul versus Obi-Wan and Anakin when they fought Dooku for the first time in Attack of the Clones movie. Which duo would win in that battle? I'm doing that too. Alright, now I got a question for my stream. And while I'm reviewing my Doom stuff and adding it to my work I'm doing, you guys are going to give me your opinion, and then I'll review it every couple minutes. So I had asked this question in my community tab, and I want to hear you guys elaborate on this. And I want to make it clear what this question is. So what is a more... Yes, Death Alert, the battle did end. You can just rewind. Go back. I did about a 10 to 15 minute battle and then question about it. Zalama versus the Soul King. Which series is Zalama? If you could clarify that, that'd be amazing. But what's a more reasonable battle? And when I say reasonable, I mean what is a good, more fair matchup? Is it 1, Goku versus Superman? We're assuming high ends for both. Or is it Goku versus Saitama? High ends for both. Me personally, I think that the battle is super close, or way more close in comparison to the other, in favor of Goku Saitama. I think the argument for Goku Saitama, with a lot of top tier, how would I say it? So you could have a really, if you are coming from a neutral standpoint, you can have a really fun discussion about Saitama versus Goku. When it comes to Goku versus Superman, in my opinion, if it's a good faith argument or even interesting and being considerate on both ends, Superman washes to a way worse degree, in my opinion, than the Goku versus Saitama. And I'm saying this from you can believe Goku beat Saitama. I'm saying Goku versus Saitama is less of a gap in whoever's favor than Goku versus Superman. I want to hear y'all's opinions on that. What do y'all think about that? Start commenting down below. Alright, let's see. My boy Theo donated. What's up? You know what? Hey. Fuck it. Grapes, do you have access to a mic right now? We might have to get you on here and we'll review that video you wanted reviewed live. Hold up. Comment in the stream if you are here. We'll do that review live. Oh, you're at work? How about this? We attempt to review the video, or I will review it live for you guys. And then if I get copyright struck, I get copyright struck. But you guys will hear the audio, which is all that matters. And I'll pause it, break it down, give my opinion on it. So Grapes, if you guys didn't know, he saw Wakanda Forever a couple times. I did as well for content purposes. We both considered it a very good film for what it was and what it was supposed to be. Apparently, a guy called Critical Drinker, or Thankor. Is it Drinker? I thought it was a play on words, but I think it's Critical Drinker. He made a why Wakanda Forever sucked type video. And since I wanted to... It's Critical Drinker? Okay, yeah. Shout out to him, by the way. Go subscribe. Definitely not hating on him in any capacity. I haven't seen this video we're about to see. So I'll save my hating for later. Oh my god, the villain. So, basically, Grapes wants me to watch this video and give my honest take on his points. So, we're going to watch it. Or / listen to it, and I'll give my takes. We'll see. Let's see if I agree with bro. Let's see if I disagree with him. It's gonna get real. All right, y'all. Are y'all down? Let me know in the comment section. Are y'all down? Let's see the comments. Yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, and make sure if you haven't seen the full length, you can review right now and watch that battle. Y'all are down? We had one pass. Everyone's down except one. We lost one. JG. If you leave, it's been real, but the people have spoken. Blood must be shed. Alright, let's see. I'm looking it up right now.
Normally, I have a sword. Okay. I need that wishing star to get my life back.
It's like a possum crawled on your face and died.
Please, mock me quietly.
Puss in Boots, only in theaters, rated PG.
You don't
don't need some asshole like me to tell you that Black Panther was one of the biggest success stories in the entire MCU, helped in no small part by a stellar cast of extremely talented actors, a prime slot at the tail end of the Infinity Saga when the momentum of the franchise was virtually unstoppable. I mean, Jesus, if Captain Marvel could make over $1 billion, then I think we can safely conclude that people were willing to watch pretty much anything with the Marvel name slapped on it. Not to mention a powerful socio-political movement that for some reason decided to make this movie its chosen champion, much to Disney's non-dismay. Either way, whatever its objective merits, Black Panther was a smash hit with critics and audiences alike. The question is, what happens when you take away all those vital props and advantages and replace them with nothing at all? Well, you end up with Wakanda Forever, a bloated, preachy, tedious, self-important, clumsily written mess of a film with an uninspiring protagonist, a tenuous plot, ridiculous action sequences, highly questionable morality, and the most boring, forgettable MCU villain since this guy. And apart from a
Second. This is really weird. Hold on, can y'all hear me now? You should be able to hear me now. It says it's popping up. Can y'all hear me now? It says my voice is popping up. Alright. So, I think when I heard him say Namor is one of the worst villains of all time, I died. That must have been what happened. He has a good presentation. By the way, can y'all hear him? When I play his shit, can y'all hear him? I'm curious to see if y'all can hear him when I play him. And then I'll give my reaction to the opening of his video. Y'all can't hear him when I play him? I can turn his voice up. You only heard him, so you did hear him? Okay. So in his intro, he said it had shitty action scenes. I'm not here to dispute how clean the fight scenes were. I would definitely say, compared to the first one, it was at least as good or relative to me. Like there was nothing in the first one to stand out anyway. So if you compliment that, I'd say okay. But I disagree firmly with his opener where he says Namor is one of the worst MCU villains ever. That is crazy. The way they expanded upon Namor's lore, the way they built into the fact that he is a morally, not even neutral, it's like exclusive character. He is a character that ever since he was a child had like this duty, this like binding duty to keep his people safe. Literally put on the throne of a god. And when he had to go back and bury his mother on their land, like he witnessed the enslavement and the beating of his people and killed them. Because fuck those guys. That's like the reason behind Namor, the reason, like it's pretty cut and dry. Like he's someone that's going to do what it takes for his people. That's it. And he's very easy to understand. And like, dare I say, relate to. Like, you could relate to his anger of feeling alienated. And yes, his kingdom's amazing, but still, they had to take refuge. You know, that wasn't a kingdom built out of prosperity. That was a kingdom built out of desperation. And I think the way they made Namor and built upon his story throughout the movie was amazing. I firmly disagree with him being a bad villain. I'll turn up his voice a little bit too. Let me do that. But we'll keep going. Good, clean presentation though, man. This guy definitely does good. Again, make sure to subscribe. I'm doing so right now. Okay, hold on. Now I can't hear it. Give me a sec. Can't hear it because my thing switched speakers. Give me one sec. Alright. Boom. Okay. Should be good.
Wakanda Forever is to Black Panther what Wonder Woman 1984 was to its predecessor. Both
Bold claim, bold claim.
Catch lightning in a bottle, especially when your bottle's completely broken. Anyway, let's get the plot summary over with. And I apologise in advance for the lack of relevant footage on this one, but let's be real here. The film's just out, and it's basically impossible to put anything
real. That's absolutely real.
Strike, but such is life. So the movie opens with Shuri working frantically in her lab in Wakanda. Her brother T'Challa is dying from an unknown illness, and the only thing that can save him is the magical bullshit herb that first turned him into Black Panther. I mean, I was under the impression that the herb grants permanent strength and health benefits after a single dose, but whatever. I guess if you get really ill, you have to take more to reinforce it or something. The problem is that all the herbs were destroyed by Captain Mega Kill from the first movie.
Okay. So, before we continue, I want to address that, right? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Again, I'm doing a review of, yeah, y'all should be able to hear me, of this video someone sent me telling me basically I disagree with his take, and yeah, I do so far. So, it sounds like he went into this movie just truly hating. Like, there was no comeback. It was, hate, fuck this movie. Whereas I went into the movie skeptical and ready to hate, but I wasn't going to be, like, full-blown hate regardless. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this. So, one thing I disagree about him, or with him about, is, like, the sanctity of the rules of the herb. Basically, how I kind of gathered it, the herb was like a super steroid, and it appears you have to maintain so, or at least take it every so often to maintain that, or your body is you'll either fall under heavy illness or something else, right? Like heavy withdrawals. That's kind of how I saw it, and that makes sense for a supernatural herb. Like, I have no problems with that. Another one, it literally sets up in the beginning Shuri's discourse / distaste for tradition. In Shuri's mind, as a child that's now being born in the modern world, where literally Wakanda was isolated before, but she's exposed to the world and all the modernization of it, right? And they have their own futuristic shit. She struggles with having faith. It's that simple. Like, she is someone who all her stock is in tech. And if she has all these abilities, and she says this a little later, why didn't Bast or the gods or the ancestors let her save her brother? It's a perfectly reasonable illness and way for T'Challa to be killed. And on that same note, it literally discusses how he was too noble to tell them in time. He hid his illness. And for the longest time, Chadwick in real life hid his illness. You know, that could have been an homage to that. But he was so noble, he kind of hid his weakness from the world. And it cost him his life, as well as there being no herb to really help or maintain. Yeah, I thought the intro, especially with her literally praying to Bast for her help in dealing with her brother's illness and nothing answering her, she doesn't have any faith in faith itself. She just wants to make her tech and get through it that way. So yeah, I would definitely say his interpretation at the beginning, in my opinion, I firmly disagree with. But we're going to continue. And like I said, make sure to subscribe to him. All that, all love. Clearly put effort into the video. At the very least, editing. Way better editing than me.
So Shuri's only option is to try to synthesize a new batch. It's very clear that her work isn't going to be successful, and even Wakandan Jarvis urges her to give it up and be by her brother's side in his final moments, but she refuses to stop. She keeps working because it's the only way she knows how to deal with the situation. She's a woman grounded in science and technology, and she's used to finding solutions to almost any problem, but right here, when she needs it the most, all of her knowledge and intellect can't help her, and well, the results are inevitable. It's a well-written, perfectly directed, and brilliantly acted scene that hits like a ton of bricks. And for a brief moment, it raised my hopes that this film was about to defy my expectations and give me something genuinely awesome. Then I saw the rest of it.
Okay, so I will say this. Hold on. That's a funny edit. Now, let me tell you guys this. Like, I was about to say, before this went on, like, this, if he was to hate the Marvel intro, if he was to hate the intro for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I would have just said, yeah, he's lost. He's just being a pure hater. But even he said, yeah, it was a riveting scene. It really was. Easily the most impactful MCU opening scene I've ever seen. As, like, we literally get just a theater silencing intro where it's nothing but silence, and the Marvel logo is just every Black Panther moment ever. It was just like an amazing intro. Both times I saw it, the theater was absolutely dead silent. So I agree with him. That intro, that sequence right there, including the funeral, was amazing. Then he said everything else sucks. I disagree, but we'll continue.
Skip forward a year or so, and all is not well in the kingdom of Wakanda. Queen Ramonda attends a meeting at the UN to lay the smackdown on some toxic white males. Because, of course, what other demographic could they possibly be? For the crime of...
Okay. This is already dumb. First of all, you guys know I am big anti pushing propaganda, right? Like, we joke that shit on here. This was not that. Let me ask you guys something. If there's going to be any military power with capabilities, like historical capabilities of potentially infiltrating a higher tier government, it's going to be someone like the U.S. Duh. That's fucking obvious. Look at the history of the U.S. Look at us being known as the strongest superpower for the military. Like, several examples in cases of, like, why America and other countries like that, those more Western affiliated, would be more likely to be capable of pursuing vibranium. And let's look at the reason for why they're doing such. Like, it's perfectly understandable why they're doing it. It's wrong. It's horrible, but they've done worse. Let's be honest. Now, and it wasn't a toxic male. It was a woman from France that she was snapping on primarily. But these governments literally view Wakanda as an absolute threat because vibranium, they have no way of detecting it. They just, up to that point, had no feasible way to detecting it, and they know vibranium's crazy because they've literally seen Captain America and Winter Soldier couldn't beat him up. A helicopter couldn't shoot him down when he was on the ground. He just ignored it. Like, Black Panther and vibranium is obviously crazy to the world, and a lot of people would rightfully, especially as military powers, fear the shit out of it because they just don't know that much about it. So, yeah, that's my take on the military slash discussion on the world powers trying to attack Wakanda. That part was not pandering in any way. That was realistic as shit. Like, especially if you look at the history of like military incursions and whatnot. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Expecting Wakanda to honor trade agreements that they already signed up for. Basically, the Wakandans had agreed to share their vibranium with the rest of the world to help them combat possible threats to global security. But now she's like, nah, it'll be fine. We're just going to keep it all for ourselves. Why? Because they don't want other nations to become as powerful as them in case they turn against them.
You serious?
I'd like to point out that this is the same country who stood by and did precisely fuck all during multiple world-ending events, who refused to share any of their resources or technology with the impoverished African nations that border them, and who seem to think it's totally fine to conduct unilateral operations against nuclear-armed superpowers.
Okay. So, I understand where he's coming from trying to approach this from a morality standpoint. But I would like to reciprocate this, right? Wakanda and culture and tradition for thousands of years has been secluded from everybody. The idea that suddenly the entire country's mindset, which is predicated upon all their traditions, would flip, would just suddenly go up in the air and change without any resistance or just lacking in change in general, it's crazy. You should expect them to be way more concrete in how they operated prior. They don't owe the world anything. They don't. So why the fuck is it suddenly they got to change their tradition, or why does it not make sense that they haven't changed their tradition? Because Thanos wiped out half the population. Okay, people are still doing the same shit once they came back. They're still on the same shit. So I think at that point you're really like looking for stuff to be negative about. Just my opinion though. Let's continue.
Are we the baddies?
Damn, Wakanda, you're lucky you haven't been invaded and pounded into the ground at this point. It's a perfect example of a recurring phenomenon that I've noticed in the MCU in recent years that I can best describe as, it's okay when we do it. Failing to instantly distribute limited resources to a world population that effectively doubled overnight.
You've got to do better, Senator.
I'll also say this. Same country where they would send people like the King or the Black Panther to execute his own brother because he could potentially interact with America. That's crazy.
You've got to step up.
But choosing to withhold vital natural resources that you have in such abundance that you could literally never exhaust them.
Wakanda Forever!
Killing an enemy combatant in an active operation who literally just executed your best friend? That's a war crime right there. But conducting unsanctioned military operations in sovereign countries with innocent civilians all around?
The
also
Okay, this, like I said, I'll try not to harp on it too much, but he keeps like repeating it and bringing it up. Wakanda is not a country predicated on doing for others. They do for themselves. That's it. That's all they care about. It's how it's always fucking been. They're not interested in you seeing them as a moral high power. That's never been established anywhere in the MCU. They're going to do what the fuck they want to do and what's based on their tradition and how they get back. Literally, when they talked about, hey, we'll investigate this, we'll go about this in the international sense, the traditional way, all that. Black Panther, T'Challa said, nah, fuck that, Romanoff. I'll kill him myself. Like, that's how they roll. They commit international incidents because they don't care. They never have. And if you enjoyed the first movie, if you enjoyed the original editions of the Black Panther in the MCU, you don't have a problem with this stance in Wakanda Forever. Because it's the same fucking stance. Like, it's as traditionalist as it gets to what they base their beliefs on.
For some reason, characters keep claiming that Wakanda is the most powerful nation on Earth now, but I'm genuinely struggling to understand how they reached that conclusion. They're a small Central African country with a grand total of 1 city, and they go into battle armed with spears, shields, and rhinos. Somehow I don't think they'd last very long in a war against America, or China, or Russia. Anyway, the upshot of all this is that the Americans start searching for other sources of vibranium that might exist in the world, and wouldn't you know it, they soon find some in the Atlantic Ocean. Unfortunately, the research vessel comes under attack by a bunch of blue fish people who kill the crew and steal the vibranium detector. Flash over to Wakanda, and Shuri and Ramonda are enjoying a nice heart-to-heart by the riverbank when this arsehole shows up and introduces himself.
My people call me Kukunkan, but my enemies call me Namor.
Nah, fuck that. I'm calling you Ocean Man from now on, mate. Because the drinker has jurisdiction wherever the drinker finds himself to be. So Ocean Man is the lead.
Yo, why is he so mad about Namor? I honestly, I don't get why he hates Namor so much. Like, especially coming into it, I don't get why he hates him. Like, this dude, Namor's sole fucking purpose for pulling up is, listen, you are a country of great tradition, always have been. Suddenly, you guys want to change up. Cool. But it's a problem now because that change up has impacted the globe to the point that now we have other fucking idiots coming around, searching our shit, going through our shit, pulling up on our shit. So, since you're the one that opened the floodgate, you be the one to close it and fix the fucking flood, right? That was what Namor was there for. And as someone who runs a country that's been isolated for hundreds of years from people, to not, like, think about that. It's like, why else would he act like that? It's perfectly within reason, especially knowing his character. Like, I think that's a ridiculous way to start hating on him. My personal opinion. But we'll continue. Again, shout out to the boy. I definitely think he has a humorous way of approaching things. That line about critical drinker has jurisdiction wherever he finds himself. That's funny as fuck. That's a good line. So, definitely entertaining dude. Not a bad video. You could disagree with something completely and say it's not a bad video. Disagree completely, but it's a good video.
Leader of the blue fish people, who are another race of isolationist arseholes, this time living in the deep ocean. You know, at a certain point you have to wonder how many more ancient, previously unknown factions, cultures and nations are going to come out of the woodwork in this franchise. Anyway, whatever. Ocean Man's angry because he doesn't want humans poking around his underwater kingdom and stealing all his vibranium, so he wants the Wakandans to help him track down the scientist who made the detector machine so that he can kill her. Where do I even begin with this?
This is a guy called Critical Drinker. This is Wakanda Forever review. Someone purchased a review and my interpretation / thoughts on it. Definitely go check him out and subscribe. Show him love. Absolutely no animosity. Just completely disagree with him so far. And the parts he's talking about now, I kind of already addressed on accident. So, we'll continue.
One. mean, for a start, how exactly does Ocean Man know that this machine was constructed by one particular scientist? Did she write her name on it? And even if it was, what purpose would it serve to kill or abduct her now? As far as he knows, she would have left behind drawings, blueprints, all kinds of designs and technical information that people could use to construct another one. Shit, man, even Tony Stark had to design his first Iron Man suit before he started building it. It would be like taking out Robert Oppenheimer after the bombings of Hiroshima. It's a bit late for that now, mate. The cat's out of the bag. Also, none of this means anything anyway because the Americans already know exactly where the vibranium is. I mean, do you really think that ship you attacked wouldn't have logged its position or been tracked by satellites, drones, and global positioning systems, or called in what they'd found before you killed them all? The fact that the ship was attacked in international waters would be a very obvious red flag to the Americans that they'd found exactly what they were looking for and that someone was trying to stop them. All of this puts the Wakandans in a pretty awkward position because the Americans believe they were responsible for the attack. I mean, if that's the case, then such an attack would definitely be considered an act of war that would almost definitely lead to military retaliation, but apparently everyone's chill about it for now, so whatever. Either way, the Wakandans have to do something, so
Okay. So I'm not quite sure, right, on a grand stage, it was just proven that members of the international governing order, which would include people like America, had sent an elite unit to go and break into Wakanda shit. An act of war already. The problem? It's like, yeah, they got info on you too. So you're now in a situation where both have done and demonstrated supposedly like textbook acts of war. So yeah, the fact that it ended up being like a stalemate and a really politically awkward position, it makes perfect sense based on how events went down.
Example of the fucking horrendous pacing of this movie that resulted in it almost being 3 hours long, then allow me to set the scene for you. So Bilbo Baggins is out jogging in the woods when a mosquito starts pestering him. He tries to swat it away, but it keeps hovering in front of him like it's trying to get his attention. Eventually he realizes it's not actually a mosquito, it's a miniature drone that wants him to follow it. So he duly follows it through the woods, not suspecting that this could be anything sinister, where it eventually leads him to Okoye and Shuri. Fucking why? What was the point in any of this? If you wanted to make contact with the guy, why didn't you just hide behind the bush and grab him while he was running? Or wait on the path ahead of him so he'd literally run straight into you? I mean, you're already out in the middle of fucking nowhere anyway. Why did you have to lead him further into the woods? Why does this movie keep setting up stuff whose only purpose is to waste our time? Oh, and in case you're thinking this is just set up for some cool payoff later, it isn't. The mosquito drone is literally never seen nor mentioned again. Fucking awesome writing, guys. And of course...
Wait, what? So he's mad at the mosquito drone? And that not becoming a... Well, I'm confused. Like... Okay, I guess you can complain about this. Yeah, it is Strife. I was paid to react to this. And give my opinion on his take on Wakanda Forever. Now, that's weird. Like, I guess you could complain about it. I could easily argue against it. Like, obviously, he was on a path that he no doubt routinely takes, and eventually they got him to lead off to somewhere for a funny interaction, right? Like, that's not... plenty of MCU movies have that. That's such a weird thing. Like, that's something they do in Black Panther, too. So that's like a weird thing to harp on. I think I'd be like... I would say at that point, it's one of those situations where he's nitpicking like a motherfucker. So... yeah, I would definitely say that. Alright. Let's go.
Bilbo immediately spills his guts and gives away vitally important national security information by telling them where to find the scientist, because that's what elite CI operatives are supposed to do, right?
not a great plan.
Seriously, dude, how the fuck did you even get this job? So they go to the university where the...
Lying, giving information to people you shouldn't, including people you shouldn't. Things of that nature is what Samuel Jackson Nick Fury did his whole time in the MCU. So complaining about an American operative giving information to a superpower vastly beyond their capabilities that's already saved his life before, and that is saying there is a different potential superpower in play now and they're a threat, yeah, he's gonna give them fucking information. Like, that's not crazy. I disagree with this being like a crazy plot hole. No, that's something that happens all the time, especially in Marvel, and no shock it happened here.
The scientist works, and wouldn't you know it, it's a 19-year-old college student named Riri Williams, better known from the comic books as a cheap, idealized knockoff of Tony Stark, minus the flaws, personality, and charisma. And she also builds quantum supercomputers and Iron Man suits out of scrap materials in her spare time, because fuck it, of course she does. Honestly, I can't wait until we get to the point where weapons and technology are designed by 2-year-olds who invented...
Alright. So, Riri Williams was a character going into the movie I thought I would hate. When I heard she was in it, I was like, dude, she didn't even last in her own comic series. No way she'll make it. She wasn't bad at all. Keep in mind, this weapon manufacturer, Tony Stark, while dying with something going towards his heart, built out of scrap a machine capable of stopping his heart from, being destroyed by the shrapnel, as well as building a suit of armor and weaponry out of junk to allow him to escape the Middle East and then later become a superhero. He did that shit while dying. We saw his crazy feats while he was just a teenager. Both of them are crazy in terms of their intellectual capability, and why people would be smarter or just as smart / well ahead in the intelligence department at this point in time is think about how deep into the MCU we are. Like, higher technology and crazier shit has been getting used and explored in the MCU for years. So, her being able to do that is actually very reasonable. Like, I'm not surprised.
Surgical implements while still in the womb so they can perform a cesarean section on themselves. So Shuri and Okoye bring her in, but oh no, the FBI arrived to stop them. But that's okay because it's basically an excuse to have an extended chase sequence where Riri crashes an aircraft into a police barricade, almost certainly killing and injuring at least a dozen police officers.
That was crazy to me. I agree with that. That was a wild moment.
No, Ocean Man and his
She almost killed... Yeah, I was like, damn, she low-key might have killed cops.
Anyway, he takes them down to his underwater kingdom to persuade Shuri to join forces with him, because apparently he's decided the best solution now is to kill every single person on the surface.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Never mind that Shuri isn't even the ruler of Wakanda and is therefore in no place to make decisions on behalf of her people. Don't think about it, just consume the products. But it doesn't matter anyway, because T'Challa's girlfriend from the previous movie shows up to rescue them, and honestly, the character was so completely forgettable that I genuinely forgot she even existed until they brought her back in. Naturally, this makes Ocean Man extremely angry, so he attacks Wakanda by making everything a bit wet, and Queen Ramonda drowns while saving Riri. You've got to love how the Wakandans totally don't give a shit about the rest of the world, but they're also willing to jeopardize their entire civilization to save one girl they've never met. Then Ocean Man says that he'll be back in a week or so to get Shuri's answer about helping him to wipe out the human race, because truly, there's no better way to win someone's cooperation than murdering their only living relative.
Okay. So, this is an interesting point brought up in terms of like, is it merited? So, they don't want to murder this young prodigal mind. Correct. Shuri's never been like a serial killer, especially in the sense of Random people. Not only that, this girl she ran into, she found out the girl literally made it for a fucking school project. It was just a girl who in a lot of ways is like her, a young girl who sometimes gets into shit she has no business getting into because she's wildly intelligent. I mean, she's literally battling aliens as a teenager. So seeing a girl with this high intelligence, with like this much potential and all that, she's not going to want to butcher her and slaughter her because her machine was taken by international forces to go invade. Like, to me, I completely understand why Shuri did not kill her and all that. And not only that, and like something else worth mentioning, we know that like it's already murky in terms of risking international war. Namor pulled up on their country and dropped off destroyed like weaponry / material of an ally. Like, that's crazy. So it was already murky. So I completely understand why this occurred in such a way. Disagree with him on it being horrible.
Anyway, I guess it's time to bring this shit show to an end. So Shuri 3D prints a new magical bullshit herb from combining a bracelet from Ocean Man with T'Challa's DNA. Wait, what? In fact, nah, just forget it. Who even cares at this point? Then she becomes the new Black Panther and they all get on a giant submarine, which is definitely something I'd expect to find in a small landlocked Central African country, and they head out to confront Ocean Man and the Bluefish people. And their killer strategy to defeat him? Lock him in a room with some heaters to dry him out. You know, I'm not entirely convinced this movie isn't just some elaborate troll. So there's a whole bunch of CGI fighting and bloodless killing, and Shuri gets a spear shoved right through her stomach, almost severing her entire spinal column, but she's like, nah, it'll be fine. Then she blasts him with the afterburner from an engine, and he gives up, and everything goes back to the way it was before. And that's it. That's the plot for Wakanda Forever. Jesus fuck mothering Christ, what a mess this film is. Somehow managing to combine all the worst tendencies of the MCU, the overuse of bad CGI, the ridiculous levels of technology.
Alright, so I don't know enough lore about this guy's channel to know, like, is this... does he hate most of the MCU or like a majority of it? I could... If he's consistent on hating, then I'm fine with it, right? But I'm not really seeing it. Like, his angle on this about how... Let me replay it. Oh, the way they figure out how to take him down, that was logical as fuck. That was like, we got to see them sit there and say, okay, we've seen him use his power in this manner. We've seen him fight in this way. Is there any weaknesses? And they came to a logical conclusion on how to most likely weaken him. So I definitely think that was a very sensible way to defeat someone, especially with what evidence they had on him.
Levels of technology and power creep, the constant need to introduce the next product, the shameless pandering and lecturing, with a script that feels like 3 different films hastily chopped up and patched together. The tragic death of Chadwick Boseman was a huge loss, both to Hollywood in general and to this film in particular, and clearly the script had to be rewritten to accommodate it. But what it really needed was a complete rewrite from top to bottom, and it absolutely didn't get it. What we have here feels rushed and haphazard, like characters were swapped around at the 11th hour without any thought for how it impacts the overall story. People can be having moody contemplations on the nature of loss, death and grief one minute, and then cracking jokes and smiling the next like nothing even happens. It's so weird and jarring, and it doesn't fit with the film's themes of how people cope with personal tragedy, partly because it's the MCU, so we can't go more than a few minutes without some forced goofy humor, and partly because this is all leftovers from a very different version of the scripts. Like I say, it should have been properly rewritten, but like everything with Marvel, it has to all be done as quickly as possible. We've got to produce new products every couple of weeks, or people will forget that we even existed. Go, 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 don't think about it, just get it done. Speaking of things that totally don't fit with this film, Ocean Man has got to be one of the worst antagonists in MCU history.
Oh, man. What the fuck? He outright said it. God damn. I already gave my case for why Namor is an excellent character. So we'll just have to endure the incoming Namor slander. He said something I agree with about the MCU. A lot of their humor is forced. Some MCU movies I haven't even watched yet, just because I know the humor is going to be bad. So I can understand the humor part, but no, I liked the pacing and dialogue of this movie a lot more than the first one. And like in the first one, he fucking breaks his back, gets boloed, all this, then comes back like 20 minutes later. Is like, yo, let's run it back. Like, relax. The pacing is at least relative. And I think the only thing I kind of agree with from that point with him is his stance on the MCU has a reputation for forced humor. Agreed.
And that's fucking saying something, believe me. His backstory is tedious and convoluted, and delivered by a long-winded info dump that actually made me leave the cinema for a couple of minutes to go for a shit. And I couldn't believe it, but it was still going by the time I got back.
No, I'm done. He might have just evolved into a straight up hater. Saying he went and took a shit and was hating on the scene, that was, oh my god, that was literally one of the best MCU scenes ever. When we see Namor become the child without love. God, like, just to slander that much is like, nah, you're just being a hater for the sake of being a fucking hater at that point. Again, you can check out his channel and subscribe. No hate to the guy, just disagree with him firmly. And to disrespect the scene that no doubt was like one of the best in the movie, I actually question if he skipped out on that scene. He probably is well aware that scene was absolute fire, but he's established this hate on Namor. So, die on a hill, I guess. That's possibly what happened. Yeah, no. Like, I'm not going to watch... Since he skipped that scene, I'm going to skip the last scene of his video. Definitely think if you're going to review it, watch all the scenes. Especially if he's, like, big on movie review, I'd prefer that. But it's all good. Overall, heavily disagree with what he's saying about Wakanda Forever, and I'll probably clip this and make it its own video with visuals and such as a proper response. But yeah, that's my take. I think he was completely wrong on Wakanda Forever. A lot of the shit was nitpicky or easily could be countered by what was presented on screen and the lore behind it. So yeah, I think he was kind of just hating for the sake of hating. But again, it sounds like he kind of takes that approach with MCU, and that's okay. If that's how he feels too, it's definitely okay. It's just an opinion. But no, I disagree with him. Yeah, that would be my take on it. But yeah, guys, I'm actually gonna go do this Doctor Doom script. Finish working on my Doom project, and I'm gonna edit the videos for today's channel. But anyways, guys, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all later.